Hello everyone, in this lecture we will learn about function. So function is a group of code that will execute when you call it. Here you can see a function. To understand a function we have to understand these three things: input, this processing the code, and the output or return value. Here a function will take input, so it is optional. It can take input or it may not be there. Then it will process that input and do some functionality, some task here, and then return some value. So that is known as output or return value. For example, if we want to create a function to add two numbers, so input will be two numbers, and then here we have to write the logic to add two numbers. Then if you want to print here, we can print. In that case there is no output or return value, but if you want to return that value so that it can be used in some other function, we must return it. So let's take one more example. Suppose you want to withdraw some money from the ATM. So you go to ATM, and what will be the input? You have to specify, you have to enter the amount you want to withdraw. So let's say some number, let's say 1000. Now ATM will process your request and check whether that balance is available or not, your input is correct or not. Then that much money will come out of the ATM. So that is output or return. So ATM will return the money, how much you enter here. So that is the way function work. Now let's take one more example. You want to change your password or PIN. So you have to enter the details, and then so you will not get any return or output because it is updated. The password is updated. So it means output or return, this is optional, and input is also optional. So function is basic building blocks of any program, and the most important thing is a function. When a function is a part of a class, we call it method. That concept we will see later, but remember, methods is just a function which is inside a class. Let's take one example. Here I'll create one more file, new Python file, function example. To create a function, we have to write this keyword, definition or def, and then name of the function. Here we have to specify the input, what input we have to give to this function. So let's take two numbers, and here we write the logic. So I want to add two numbers, and then print. Let's print some. Let's see. Now this is a function. The advantage of this function is I can call this any number of times. So let's say here, first let's execute this and see the output, and it works. Now let's call it again. This time I'll give some other values, which is float, and I'll call one more time here with the string. So it is possible because here we don't have to specify the type. This is concept of function overloading. Let's run it. So 3 times I am calling this function with different type, and it is working. But remember, if I call this function with 3 parameters, so it will throw an exception because this function is expecting only 2 values. And see here, see the read the error, takes 2 positional arguments but 3 were given. So this is wrong. Another important point here, function should be defined before. When here is the definition and here we call it, but if it is defined here At this point of the code, Python don't know about this add function, so it will throw an error. So function must be defined before. So here you can see function can have output or return value. Let's understand this. In this example, we have inputs, but there is no return value or output. Now, instead of here, I'll not print the value, but I will return the value here. See. Now let's call this. If I run this, can you tell me the output? Can you guess? So it will add, but we are not printing it. So you will not get anything. See here, return C. So when a function returns something, we must store it or catch it. Here you can see on the left side, we have to create a variable so that we can hold that value. Now you can use it, maybe just to print it or to pass to another function. Let's run this, and this time it works. So this return, this is a return value, this is a return type or output. This is optional. Similarly, here these inputs are optional. So function can take input and it can return some value. Let's take one example where we'll not pass any parameter. I'll create a function to print a name, and we'll ask the user to enter your name, and here I'll print your name. Let's print in capital letter. Yes. So we'll use string function name dot, you can see here upper. So this will convert this string to uppercase. Now let's call this function print name. In this function will not pass any parameters, and this function will not return anything. Run it, enter your name. So you can see here the first letter is capital, other are small. Enter, and you can see all are capital because I'm calling this function. This is built-in function. This is provided by this string class. But here we are creating this print name. This is user-defined function. So we can have user-defined function like this. We can create our own function, and we can use these predefined functions. So if you see this code here, this function will not return anything, and this will not take any parameter. And if you see this built-in function upper, this function because it is instance of it will expect here. I'll show you here again dot upper. So you can see here self. Anyway, I'll explain this in another lectures when we discuss about object-oriented concept. But as of now, you can understand this self means the instance of this particular class. So on the left side, you can see here this is an instance of string class. So that will automatically pass here. But this function returns the string in capital letter so that we can print it. So in next lecture we'll explore more about this function.